Let's start that. All right. Welcome, guys. Welcome back to Modern Agent Blueprint. We have been on a hiatus for like weeks. So we are finally back, and we have Marissa Morello on today. And we're going to be talking more about leveraging, how to train and leverage a VA. And Nikki and I can say for sure we have been through the ringer trying to hire and train VAs and finding somebody who is good at what they do, finding somebody who's like responsive, who turns in stuff on time, who understands your aesthetic or what you're looking for. It is so hard to find somebody who does that. And now, and Marissa, you guys hire VAs for a plethora of different reasons. And I know that you guys have, figured out some ways how to train people and how to, kind of take over to kind of duplicate yourself. So I'm going to turn it over to you and let you go ahead and start. And then when Brooke gets in here, we'll have Brooke hop on too and start talking about some of the stuff that you guys have collaborated on.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, VAs are tough. Like this is, I think, something that 90+% of people struggle with. Hiring is tough in general. Like you have to then become a manager on top of just trying to figure out how to manage yourself and your own business. And especially in real estate, like a lot of times we're not naturally great at I guess I'll just say like accountability, right? Like to ourselves, to other people. Like we typically get into real estate because we can be a little more flexible. And when you are hiring someone, those are not choices. Like, because then you're setting that standard for them, right? Like you need to be accountable so that they can be accountable. And it's kind of just this the whole thing. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck is like they don't know how to train someone because they don't even fully know how to do it themselves. They don't know how to put it into an SOP to hand it off to someone, right? They don't know how to communicate it. So that's where like Brooke and I have found a little niche is we through our operations roles have done a lot of hiring and training and things. So for realtors, we've ended up hiring a lot of virtual assistants just for other people, training them, and then we just hand them off. Because that's something that a lot of realtors, again, are just not naturally great at. So if you're in that boat, like you're totally normal. Don't feel like, oh my gosh, why do I just struggle with hiring virtual assistants? Man, they all stink. Man, this is so hard. Like it's just it's a skill set, right? Like anything else. And when would you have gained that skill? Like that's not a normal life skill to come across in most careers or paths and things. Um, so yeah, that's how I have kind of stumbled into this virtual assistant world is just naturally working with other realtors and hiring them for a team that I was working for and then now for our own business. We have two, we're going on our third virtual assistant for like our own company. And then we've done a lot of hiring for, like I said, other realtors and their businesses. We hire them, train them, and then hand them off. My favorite source to find virtual assistants is actually Upwork. So it's a typically it's more like what is the word I'm looking for? Um Goodness. Oh, freelance. Typically it's a bunch of like freelancers on there. However, they'll do part-time or full-time work as well. So you can just check those boxes when you're putting an ad out. Or if you just want a one-time project, right? Maybe you're just getting a logo recreated, or you just need your website set up one time, or you just need business cards ordered, or something prepped for an event or something, right? Like you can just do one-off things as well, which is another reason I like Upwork because I think a lot of people feel then stuck like, okay, I have 20 hours of work that I need for a VA this week, but then I might have two next week and five the following week. And then, oh my gosh, I have another event. My client event is coming up and I need them to text 700 people again. So it's 20 hours a week. So that's the beauty of it too, is you can ebb and flow with someone that is choosing to be more that freelancer style, where if you're putting like a traditional ad out or you get them from a sourcing company, then typically they're looking for more commitment, consistency, things like that, where freelancers are choosing to be flexible. So that's another pro to Upwork is 90% of the time they ebb and flow with you, as long as that's communicated up front, of course. And then the other nice benefit to virtual assistants is they're typically pretty inexpensive. So you can get virtual assistants in other countries for three, four, five, six, sometimes $7, $8 is like the higher end for them for someone with a little more quality. And I have even hired people from like European countries or things like that for like $10, $12 an hour. Still much cheaper than you could get an assistant for here, but their skill set's different, their language is different, things like that, right? So it just depends on like the role that you're trying to fill. But Upwork has people from all over the world with all over different skill sets and different levels. The other reason I like Upwork is you can see their previous jobs and like how long that they worked for different people. They get reviews every time back and forth. Like Upwork will just bug the crap out of both sides. So you as an employer and then the employee both get reviewed by the opposite party, which will get posted on your profile. So I just like that transparency too, because if I'm hard to work with, then that virtual assistant should probably get that heads up too, right? Like, so it's both ways and it just holds us a little bit more accountable. Um, so those are all the pros, in my opinion, to Upwork. The things that we're typically leveraging them for is like for in this real estate world is email newsletters, texting marketing, social media for sure, website stuff for sure, guides, coming up with like the actual creative guides and the copy that goes into that. They can do websites, logos, YouTube pages, because you like there's people that really specialize in the editing of YouTube. That's one that we've paid, I think it was $12 an hour for, because his whole niche is just YouTube. And so I had a client that was really into that, and we were posting, I think, one long form a week, and then it was getting chopped up into 5 shorts for the week. And like he just mastered YouTube, right? So he knew how to do the timestamps and the whatever. So he was a little bit more expensive. But then you can get a VA that just does email and text marketing for $4 an hour. And you just train them on, like you said, your aesthetic and your vibe and what you're trying to accomplish. But the nice thing about Upwork is I can go and see their past experience. So I already know, do they sort of have my style? Do they sort of have what I'm trying to accomplish up front? And typically, something else to keep in mind is that person that's good at email marketing is not going to be your YouTube person. Don't be afraid to have 5 VAs working for you that specialize in those one tiny things that they're good at, and they just do the 1 or 2 things for you a week. That's okay. That's one of the beauties of the freelancing style. You don't need this full-time assistant that you don't know what all to give to. Hire someone to just do your email marketing. Hire someone to just do event marketing for you. Hire someone to just do ISA work for you. Hire someone to just do YouTube and social media. Like if they niche, they're better at it. And then it's usually more cost effective too, because you're not just burning hours. I know that was something Nicole, you and Nikki faced, was like, you're like, I don't know what to give them this week. And then, okay, cool, I'm paying them $4 an hour, but they're doing for 10 hours a week, but they do 2 hours of work a week. And I'm just stuck paying them. And like, what the heck do I do? And that's a common problem. So yeah, you can totally just hire people for their specific little things that they need. And sometimes that works out even better too. There was a thought that I had, but I lost it. So it'll come back to me. Nicole, did you want to add anything on anything that I've added so far? Or Brooke, I saw that you jumped on too.
No, I mean, I think the hardest thing is 100% figuring out what you're going to give them. I
Hmm.
feel like a lot of what Nikki and I did was like handing them social media stuff. Like, hey, I need graphics, I need my guide updated, I need X, Y, and Z. I think the hardest part, and maybe you could touch on this, is like keeping them accountable. Like you already talked a little bit about it, but what systems are you using to figure out, how many hours they're working? Because like I almost thought, and Nikki and I discussed this about the VA we shared before, was like pay per project, because
Hmm.
paying per hour was just not working out, because we would in the situation we had, we had a girl who was great when she was on. Like if she was on, she was doing a great job. She got all the stuff done. She did an excellent job. She totally understood what we were going for. But then we might be charging, paying her for 10 hours a week. And on Friday at 9 p.m., she would send us all the stuff. Instead of sending it to us like as she completed it, it was like or on payday, she would send us the stuff and be like, okay, I did 20 hours worth of work. Here's everything. And we're like, no, like we needed this stuff before. Like we needed this
Hmm.
last Monday or Tuesday. We've asked you for it 6 times. You said you were going to give it to us. So like what do you do to track or to keep people accountable on this? And what happens when, because Nikki and I gave chance after chance after chance because we liked the person, but it just did not work out. So what is your advice to like what happens when they don't do what you're asking them to do, and what systems are you using, or what is your like time management for them?
Yeah, great question. Like you said, very common issue too. So like this is also very normal. I will say, so you reminded me of my thought that I had, the liking the person. That is something else that I think is super important that people don't do when they're hiring is they'll hire just based on a resume or their portfolio or whatever, right? You're working with this person hand in hand. This is now an extension of you, even if you're like filtering things before it gets to anybody. One, you shouldn't be doing that because otherwise then you're not really delegating. You should be able to hand this off completely. So this is an extension of you. They're going to be texting, emailing, coming up with content, social media, whatever it is, they're doing it on behalf of you. So if you don't get along with them and you don't like their style, then you're going to get frustrated and you're going to end up letting them go. And then you're in this vicious cycle. So I am actually bigger. I don't even really rarely look at resumes. I'll look at portfolios. I want to make sure that they're like aesthetic is a general match or whatever, right? Or their quality is there. However, like I could not care less what 17 jobs you had before this. I want to know your personality. Are you going to ask questions? Like, so those are things that I'm looking for in the interview, right? I want you to ask me deeper questions. I might stay surface level or I might keep things vague. Do you ask something to inquire deeper about it? Because then those little things will tell me, like, okay, cool. If they're stuck, they're going to stop and ask me versus just waiting to be said, like, oh, you didn't get it done this week. Well, I didn't have that login. Well, why didn't you come to me on Monday then so we could have solved this? Like, those are personality traits that you're looking for in people. And sometimes that's hard to do. Again, that's hiring is a skill. So you want to ask lots and lots of personality questions or problem solving questions, stay vague and see how they respond. Find someone based on that more so than their actual skills. Skills you can teach, skills you can put them in a training program, skills you can put them, you can show them lots of examples of your style and experience and things like that. You cannot show them personality. And it's also simply not your job to try and like teach them English if they're a written type person or they need to be speaking on behalf of you. So those would just be some like basic bare minimum things to be looking for. Make sure they're spoken and written depending on the role that they're looking to fill for you is already up to whatever standards that you're expecting. Because those are things you can't teach, personality and then language. But rest of the skills and aesthetic and things that can all be taught, that can all be feedback and tweaked and things like that. Upwork, the other nice thing there. So going back to your question, make sure you like the person, but going back to Upwork is they track it for you. So they will take screenshots every so many seconds of whatever they're doing during their on hours that they're logging to hold them accountable to actually be doing the work. And so you can go in, if they said I worked 20 hours, well, I'll just scroll through their screenshot logs and okay, what the heck were you doing for 20 hours? Was it on the same one page in Canva and you did no edits for an hour and a half? Like, no, girlfriend, you did not work for 20 hours. So Upwork automatically holds them accountable. Now they do charge a small fee for that. So there's like I think it's, I don't know, 3% if I had to guess. It's a very small percentage, like fee of whatever you're paying them. So again, if this is $4 or $5 an hour, pretty dang inexpensive to just let them process it on there. And pretty much any site that you're paying someone through is going to have some sort of processing fee. So don't quote me on the Upwork one, but it is something very inexpensive and it's very comparable to a lot of other processing sites. And then if you aren't using Upwork for payment, just as a side note, we use RIA. I don't know if it's Raya or RIA or whatever, but RIA.com for paying people overseas. They've got the smallest fees that we could find, and they're also pretty quick, especially that first payment, because a lot of other sites, it might delay a month before the money ever gets to them. And some of these VAs are pretty tight, and that is a really big deal to them, which rightfully so. No one should have to wait a month for their money, right? So the RIA or Raya or whatever it is, it's very quick, even on the first payment to connect, and their fees are very inexpensive. So that's the other place I would recommend. And then for tracking and holding them accountable, I'm a big meeting girl. I know Brooke wants to die every time I'm like, hey, we have a new meeting. We have a new meeting. So it depends on your personality, right? Like she would much rather 90% of things be an email back and forth. I like jumping on, talking through it. I want to see it and get through things together. Make sure you're not stuck. I want you to, oh, here's another hiring tip. When you explain something, have them tell it back to you how they understand it, because then they're going to end up telling you where their gaps are before they have the gaps in real life. So have them explain it back to you or just like briefly show you, like, okay, how would you start that? And then they're like, okay, cool, let's start this together. So it'll just help like uncover the problems before they're real problems. Um, so I use theirs, and I just Googled it too, like as we were sitting here. We used one through Mark Z, who I can't remember to save my life. It was like some time something something website that would also take the screenshots, but it tracked their mouse movements. So if their mouse stopped moving for so long, like it would stop their clock. And so then I just, like I said, I Googled virtual assistant time clock with mouse tracking and like 72 options came up. So really, if you just like found one that was within a budget comfort zone for you, then I would say any of those are probably going to be very, very similar. But the key is the screenshots and or the mouse movements, because that's going to hold it accountable for you. It's going to put some accountability to it without you physically having to do anything. And then it turns it all into you. It logs their hours. They have to clock in and clock out of that. And it's a system that goes on their computer. So I would say that for sure. But I recommend having, and they want to feel connected to you too, right? It's virtual. It's hard to feel like this working relationship with someone that lives a million miles away. So that's another reason that I'm pro meeting, is I like to jump on and just have that conversation, make them feel like we are partners and that I do care about them and the work that they're doing. They're not just some person or some robot on the other side of the screen doing my busy work for me, right? Like you're a real human. I care about you and I care about the work you're doing. So let's jump on and talk about it. So that's why I like a few reasons that I'm pro meeting. It's just easier for me too to talk through things versus like I hate sitting there and just reading emails all day. Not my working style. So that's an up to you thing, right? However it ends up being, find a person that matches that. And then just make sure you're consistent. That's the key with like all things in business forever and ever, right? Like we've heard that 700 times. We just need to be consistent. If it's an email, you need to send it on Monday every week with all the things you expect done with deadlines. And then they need to send you the update either on every single day, that Friday, like whatever you choose, just set the expectation and then be consistent. And if they drop the ball, I'm a team 3 strikes, you're out in general, right? Like there's exceptions to every rule. Because one time, okay, maybe did we not know or did we not care? Second time, you're starting to show me that you probably just don't care. And then third time, for sure, we no longer don't know because we have written records and we've had this conversation. So it's 100% sure that you don't care. And if you don't care about my business, then you don't get to be here. Sorry, my friend. So that's typically how I do things, which again, there's exceptions to every rule. And know too that they're typically, especially in like, just because Philippines are pretty frequent virtual assistants, right? So in the Philippines or a lot of those Asian countries, they struggle with a lot of typhoons. There's typhoon seasons, and it will take out their internet for long periods of time. So a lot of them will have different plans for backup, and those are good hiring questions. Like, what do you do if your internet goes out? Do you have a cafe or a friend or family member that's on a different spot that you can go to or whatever? Do you have a backup generator? Do you have access to landlines versus just whatever? So that way you can message me and let me know that your power's out. So a lot of them will have those type of communication or backup plans in place. And again, just good questions to be asking up front so that way you know, like, okay, cool. I understand your internet's going to go out. You literally can't avoid that. That's just a factor of your entire country, right? What's your plan to update me so that I don't go all week without knowing if you're alive, if work is being done, if whatever, right? Like I care about you. And if you're going to be unavailable, cool. But my transaction work still needs to happen. So then I just need to send an email today. Give me a heads up that I'm going to be off the grid. So those are again are just the type of things to be aware of and to have conversations about so no one's disappointed or frustrated.
So when you're trying to hire a VA,
Mhm.
like how many interviews do you think you would go through before you actually chose somebody?
So I would say I probably end up receiving, and this is just estimates, right? I would say I probably get 30 to 50 applications, and I'm going to filter out quality of written English typically pretty quick and aesthetic pretty quick. Did they even put together, like, especially if they're going to be someone that's doing any sort of client facing things or social media things, like I would expect a Canva resume from someone that is doing guides for me. If it is, you don't have an attached resume, how are you going to create anything in Canva, right? Like you should be a pro at that. So like little yellow flags for me, I'll just filter people out because you do get so many, right? So if there's yellow flags at a resume level, boop, you're out. And then from there, that's when I will send messages and filter out for, again, just communication back and forth. Are you quick to respond? Is it that same day that you're getting back to me? How's your English? Do you have any additional questions for me before we set up the interview? So I'll do some very basic, just conversational stuff in a message with them. That will typically take it from that 30, 50 resume to maybe half that I send a message to of however many resumes that I get. So let's just say 15 for a round number. And then I will usually from that end up picking 5 to 10 of my favorites to have conversations with. And then from there, if I'm hiring for someone else or anyone else's opinion is involved, then I'll usually pick like top 2 or 3 max. And that's who I would set up, let's say for you, Nicole, to have a conversation with. Or if it was for Brooke and I's company and they were doing emails with us, like then I'd bring Brooke in at that point and have that conversation. So that's usually like how I'll narrow things down. And then if you're just hiring for yourself, that last portion, what I would be looking for. So set up a second interview for yourself as well. Go process, go look at all your notes, pick your top 2 favorites, bring them back on for a second interview with you and have them bring an example. Not something that's going to take them 20 hours to edit. That's not fair. They're not on the clock to you, right? But let's say bring me a template that you've done for someone else of a buyer guide. Send me 2 additional YouTube videos that you edited for someone else. And then if I send you a video, can you come up with one 30-second short for me? So like things that would take them a short amount of times or additional just examples for them to bring to the table. Like, hey, now you understand my aesthetic and my goal. Bring me 2 things that you think that I would like, right? So something easy for them to come up with. Doesn't take a whole lot of time, but it's an additional filter to help narrow down those 2. And then, yeah, just have more personal conversations. Who's bantering back and forth with you? Like those things are important in a personality, or are they just so cut and dry that they're going to be afraid to come to you when their internet goes out, when they don't know something. They need to have a little bit of a relationship and a little bit of a personality. So that second interview help filters that as well. There, a little bit of the nerves are gone. We're not so focused on that first interview. And can I open up? Can I have a conversation?
That's perfect. Brock, what do you have? What do you got?
So I don't like talking to them. I don't like talking to them ever. So I would say like before you hire somebody too, like know what you're hiring them for. Like I feel like a lot of the times people say like, oh, I'm gonna hire a VA, but like you don't even know why you're hiring one. Like what are you gonna have them do? And it should be repeatable tasks. So if they can't do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or every Monday, then don't give it to them. You know what I mean? Like sometimes transaction management's hard because it's right away. So like if something comes back that's wrong and it needs to be fixed, or it's an email communication with title, it's really hard to hire a VA and say like, oh, be my TC. You know, like you need someone who's in the same hours as you. Whereas if it's things like admin style tasks, when you do them, you should record videos of things and, kind of start making like a stockpile of, hey, if I had someone to do these things for me, this is the big list of all of those items and how to do it. And then you can just give them all of that. And then I feel like that eliminates half of the problem of like, oh my, I didn't know what to tell my VA to do because you created 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week before you even hired them, So that's what makes it worth it, I think.
Yeah, I think, that's also the hard part. I think, looking at what you're, because I think a lot of people just say they want to hire a VA because they want to leverage themselves, but they don't also know, and this is where I fell into this. I was like, I don't even know what to give a VA, because I like the idea of like a TC, but you're 100% right. Like they can't possibly do what you need them to do in a timely fashion all the time. So, when you find yourself doing the tasks that you really hired them for, it's like, what are you paying them for? So you have to kind of figure out what you could delegate to them reasonably, what kind of stuff, like, okay, I'm going to have them do a reel for me, 4 times a week. And then, what if the reels aren't your aesthetic, or what if you don't like them and now you want to edit them, or you want to change something or whatever. Um, Brooke made it great. She doesn't even show me her reels. She just posts them. She makes these reels for me. She just posts them. I don't have a say. Which is fine. Sometimes, it's fine for me, because then it's like it's better to be done than perfect. But
Yeah.
I think that some of us, like me, I'm very type A. Like I want to nitpick everything all the time. And if I let that type A personality take over, it would end up being problematic. But I think, looking at what you are doing, like you said, repeatable processes. Like, what are the things that are super easy to duplicate that somebody could do? Take that off your plate so you don't have to do it. Maybe like if maybe you do like, your newsletters, or like you guys have your newsletter templates, like that could be something that a VA could do easily. Doing your, like, my high notes for my clients that go under contract, that's something that VA could do. Like there's a lot of different things that VAs can do, and I'm probably not even scratching the surface on some of the stuff. But I know of a girl who teaches courses, and she has her VA come up with the entire course, and she just records the videos, and like she's figured out that this VA understands her perfectly, gets her humor, like is able to duplicate it, and almost she's like another version of her, and she creates all these courses for her, and then she sells the courses, so there's a lot of stuff that um VAs could do if you find the right person. Sorry, I'm outside
I
of you guys can hear those birds
I
chirping.
think too, like if you use a VA for like past client communication, a lot of the times we don't even utilize our CRMs fully. So for $5 an hour, is it worth to have someone in your CRM for 5 hours a week? Sending out your anniversaries, sending out your birthday emails, having past client drips and different things, making sure every file when it's closed, they have the birthday, they have the home anniversary, the closing date, the address. Those are things that sometimes we skip and say we'll go back and do them, and then we never do. So if a VA just did it, then you don't have to think about it, and they kind of maintain, they're pretending to be you or sending emails from your CRM as you, but at least they're staying in touch with all the past clients, because your current clients are the ones that need your attention right now. So a lot of times we don't focus any time on our past clients, which they could do for you.
Yeah, I think if you have like a business plan, right? Like I think if you went into it with a business plan of, here are the things that I want to do, kind of like what we did when I started with you and Marissa, like here are all the things that are stockpiling in my brain that I would love to be able to do. Now, how can we start checking things off this list? And maybe one of them is like, because I think it's great to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have somebody manage my CRM. But like realistically, they don't know where these clients came from. They don't know if they're at, hot list, warm list, cold list. Like they have no idea. So that part I think is really hard to have somebody else take that part over. But it's like if it's all, set up, and all it is managing that CRM, not necessarily cleaning it up, it's going to make life a lot easier. And you could definitely do the stuff with client management, or the emails, or the, a list for pop buys, or whatever it might be. There's a lot of different ways that you could utilize them for that stuff. But I think it would be helpful if you had, you have your business plan, what you're trying to accomplish in that year, and utilizing them, or even getting ideas from them of stuff maybe they've done with previous real estate companies that they've worked with. Nikki, you have a VA now. Why don't you pop on here and talk about her a little bit?
So I I've liked this session because I enjoy using a VA, but I do struggle with, week to week trying to figure out stuff to fill their pipeline outside of social media. I think that my VA really enjoys doing social media, so she wants to do it all the time. That's great. But there's other things that I need done. So I I've had her like last week, she'll do like mailers for me. So just solds, open houses, that kind of stuff. She'll design it and then I will get it sent out. I will have her once a month reconcile my accounts so that it's good to go for my accountant because I absolutely cannot stand doing that. Um, let's see what else. Oh, I was having her update my guides. That's kind of a work in progress still. Um, she'll go into my CRM if I see, how Facebook will be like, hey, it's so and so's birthday. Well, I was never great at putting that information into my CRM for the clients. Basically, it was their name, phone number, and email. That was it. That's all I had. Maybe their address, depending on if they bought with me, then the address was there. If they sold, then no, unless they bought another house with me. So I'll have her go in there and I'll say, hey, it's so and so's birthday, add their birthday to their profile, set it up that it sends them a birthday email every year, and get that going. So she'll design an email and make sure it goes out every time. Same with house anniversaries. When they pop up, I would always like manually keep track of them. And then that went by the wayside. So I've been trying to get better at updating them in the CRM and having her do that. But it would be nice to have somebody manage my database and my CRM. And I agree with you in that it is hard because they don't know who these people are. However, I'll jump in and sometimes I don't know who these people are. So I'm like, this is a lead. Where did it come from? I have no idea who this person is. Um, Funny story. I actually had some lady reach out to our board of realtors. Actually, she reached out to the BBB, Better Business Bureau, filed a complaint that she couldn't opt out of my emails or something. So then the lady at the board emailed me and was like, hey, can you look into this, see who she is and whatever. And I'm like, I don't even know who the hell she is. So I was like, but hang on, let me pull up the CRM. So I, put in her name. Here, she opted in herself to receive information on homes in Perrysburg. It's through our CRM. You can opt out of everything. It's not like I signed her up for anything. I'm like, this lady is an idiot. So I like screenshot it and I'm like, she signed up herself. I don't even know who she is. I'm not sending her anything outside of whatever she signed up for, but I deleted her, like, here you go. And they're like, okay, no problem. Thanks for letting us know. So yeah, that was weird. But if maybe the solution to the organizing the database and keeping it updated is maybe you do like a weekly meeting with your VA, even though I agree with Brooke in that I don't like talking to them. I don't like meeting with them. Like, it's annoying to me. But maybe just like Monday morning, they go through any questions on your database, like, hey, do you know who so and so is? So and so, whatever. I do a lot of boosting of my listings. So I'll get a lot of leads for that, which it does come in and tell you where that lead came from, that it's hashtag whatever the property is. But then you could say to your VA, hey, I want them set up on a buyer campaign because they're interested in possibly purchasing this house. I don't really know, but that is something that I'm in need of because I don't have time to manage my database and I feel like I've got a lot of missed opportunities there. Have you had any success? Has anybody had any success with like database management?
I would say, Nikki, you might have the common case of splitting up some of this workload for personality styles and skill sets. Because you might, which I don't know this VA by any means or their experience, but you typically, and like you had made a comment of like, she really liked social media, so she ends up doing a lot of social media. Well, maybe just have her do 3 hours or 5 hours of social media a week, and then someone else totally different that does transaction stuff and database management stuff that like already knows KV Core really well or whatever CRM that you're using. Like they know that system and they can, then they're bringing value to you. They're going to create drips and automation for you because that's their specialty, and you don't have to come up with things to give them. They're going to come up with the content and the ideas. So that might be something in your case that might be worth considering, because then you don't always feel too like, all right, what do I give them this week? All right, I have to go create these text templates for them to send out. No, they're going to do it because that's their thing, that they enjoy doing it. Like your girl enjoys doing social media.
That's a good idea. I just subbed out some transaction coordinating tasks to somebody totally different. So that's one tackle. Next one is the database management that I need
Yeah,
to.
there you go.
Okay, cool. Are there people that just do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, check Upwork.
Okay, I will.
Well, I think this has been super helpful, Marissa and Brooke and Nikki and everyone. I think there's a lot of people, like I said, who I think just want to leverage and they don't really know what to leverage or how to leverage. So, I mean, I think like if you, Marissa or Brooke, if you were to give like first steps, what would you suggest to somebody who wants to leverage and bring in a VA to help them? What would you say like their first few steps should be before even looking?
Figure out what they need to do. Make your list.
And that,
If you
I mean,
don't have
that should
anything for
also
them
be
to
like
do.
stuff you don't like, right? Like,
Yes.
like if you like doing social media, okay, like I do, I love doing my social media. I keep my social media for myself. But like other tasks that I don't want to do, that's what I want to delegate. So if you're making your list, think about that.
That was going to be my comment, Nicole, is not so much what you need them to do, but what don't you like doing? Get that off your plate first. Because if you hate it, you're not going to do it. Like, and let that be database management, like 90% of realtors, right? Like, get that off your plate first. Find someone that will follow up with your leads, that will send the text messages, and just that they specialize in whatever CRM or system you have. And like you said, Nikki, jump on once a week where they tell you who Billy Bob Joe is, right? And what they need to go in because they don't have a stage or they don't have a source. So once a week, suffer through a half an hour meeting, and then they can follow up with everyone for you and they'll clean things up. And yes, so we had a client one time who we switched them over to Follow Up Boss. And we just had, between us and the virtual assistant that we hired for them, we redid their entire CRM for this person, and we helped clean up stages. We touched every single lead in the database. Well, then he got blown up with messages like, I'm just gonna make up a name, Joe. Did you hire an assistant? Like, I've got this person reaching out to me. Are they real? Are they whatever? Right? Like, I got this message from them. So that's going to be the worst part, is you're going to start getting messages to your cell phone directly saying, Joe, did you really hire Brooke? Because she just texted me. And like, then it's like, yep, hope you're doing well. And then every single time, all of those people were like, congrats, good for you. You got an assistant. I'm so excited for you. Like, your business must be doing well. And then it opened up the conversation for them directly. So, okay, the worst part of someone following up for me is I might get blown up with some messages from people that I probably should be reaching out to anyways. And now we already got over that. So then my assistant can reach out for them every single time, inviting them to events, asking for referrals, asking for reviews. You just got to get over it one time. Just that's the worst part.
Brooke, do you have anything to add?
No,
No?
that's my
All right.
same thing.
All right. Cool. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you being on. We have decided to go Modern Agent Blueprint every other week for the rest of the year. Weekly it's just too much every week. It's a lot. It's a lot for people to process. It's a lot for everybody. So we're going to go bi-weekly. for the rest of the year and see how that pans out. And we look forward to seeing you guys all in 2 weeks. So that'll be on, what day is that? The 22nd. So we'll be back for the 22nd and we can't wait to see you guys. Thanks, Brooke and Marissa.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.